Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. Dawes County Board of Commissioners work session. Today is Thursday, March the 5th, 2026. Appreciate everybody that's with us here as well as those that are with us online. We'll move right into the new business. First up, we have presentation of FY 2027 Legacy Link Local Share Commitment Letter. Senior Services Director Dawn Johnson. Ms. Dawn.
I'm going to fix this for all the rest of you guys. Good afternoon, Chairman. Good afternoon, Board. I am here today, as I am yearly, to present to you the FY 2027 that will start July the 1st local share. That is our commitment letter. We give them so much a year. It's increased a little bit over the years. This year, it's the same as it was last year, $16,000, and that is the fee that all the counties pay them to operate our grants for us and reimburse us our money. And it is in the contract that we have with them. We're just bringing it forward for you, for the chairman to sign.
Questions for Ms. Dawn? And that is in her budget.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Next up, we have presentation for resolution to proceed with an update to speed zones in Dawson County and submit to the Georgia Department of Transportation for approval. Public Works Director Robert Drury. Robert.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Last time I've come to the board for speed zone updates was in February of 2024. And I have actually met with the Sheriff's Office and we talked about different locations that may need to have speed zones. We came up with several locations. So I met with our consulting engineer for traffic is KCI Technologies, and they performed engineering and traffic investigations on those roads. And they have identified proposed, or should I say recommended speed zones. And there we are, it's up there, very good. So just as a little background, the engineering speed study is necessary in order to get, if you get to the ultimate conclusion of being able to run radar, they do require some engineering studies. And those engineering studies are dictated through the Manual for Uniform Traffic Control Devices and through Federal Highway. And it must be performed by a qualified transportation engineer, and all the supporting documents has to be submitted for the state permits so we can use the radar. Not working? Okay. What is included in a speed study? Well, a lot of data. They actually go out there and analyze the road. They look at what the speed, actually test what the speed of the motorists are doing today. They do traffic volumes. They identify the roadway type and any of the features in the road, particularly like curves and hills and how many driveways are on the road. The setting, that's also important, whether it's rural or urban areas. Sight distances, pedestrian, bicycle activity, if there's any. Crash history, they do a research of crash history. I think they go back 10 years. And of course, the pavement condition makes a difference as well. So all those are factors that go into the engineering study. So I'm going to jump right into the roads that they're recommending. I think you had this in your packet as well, but I'll go through these. Carlisle Road is currently posted at 35 miles an hour, but it's not codified. So the study actually broke it down into two different segments. Segment number one is coming from Blue Ridge Overlook, heading north. They're recommending a 30-mile-an-hour speed zone, highly residential in there. And then once they get to a point 1,200 feet short of Successful Way, the segment number two, they're recommending a 35-mile-an-hour speed zone all the way to State Route 400. Freeland Road is another one. It's a connector between Lumpkin Campground Road and Red Rider Road. It is being used as a connector road. It is currently not posted, but the study recommended a 35-mile-an-hour speed zone.
Robert, what's the condition of that road? Because I know that a lot more traffic got shifted over to Freeland. I don't know, maybe it was 8 years ago when we made Red Rider one way, I believe, and Freeland's managing a lot more of that traffic.
It is. Actually, it's been resurfaced since I've been here. That was a 2023 project. It was actually, I think Eddie was even working on it while I was here, when I first got here. So it's got new surface on it. It looks fantastic, and it's holding up quite well. Goodson Road is another road. It's off of Dawson Forest Road and stretches all the way back to Forsyth County. It's posted at 35, but it's not codified in Forsyth County. I think it's posted as 35 as well. And the speed study recommended 35, just as it's posted. Henry Grady Road from State Route 400 back toward State Route 136, or Harmony Church Road, as we also call it, or Price Road, really. It's posted at 55 miles an hour. I've kind of suspected that was too fast, and they came back with a recommendation of 45 miles per hour. We have two state routes that we're recommending, and the state routes are a little bit more unique in that, of course, it's a state route, but in order for us to run radar, it still has to be processed like the other roads. But the local DOT office wants to study the engineering recommendation before we submit it for approval. So the local office has seen both these state route studies, and they will support the speed limit study before we formally submit it. So the first one it's a little complicated, and I hope I can walk you through this one. But it's State Route 53 on the west side of Dawsonville. So if you're coming from Pickens County, the blue line is a 55-mile-an-hour speed zone. And then at some point past Creekstone Lane, it becomes 45 miles an hour until you get into the purple zone, which is 35, and that's at Hauser Road into town. This one actually came from the sheriff's office as well, because they know they're coming in there quite fast, and it's a residential area. So the recommendation is, as you're coming in from Pickens County, the 55 will remain until some point before, I guess it says milepost 7.91. They recommended tapering it down to 45. That's the red you see, and keeping 45 all the way to Hauser Mill Road. And that way we cover a lower speed limit through the growing residential area, and slow people down a little bit before they get into town. The other state route is the east part of town, east part of 53. And if you're looking at the map, the current speed at the red zone is 35, and it extends from Hightower past 400 until you get to almost Fire Station number 3. And then it increases to 45 in the blue line. And of course, we've got the new roundabout in there, and it's kind of hard to do 45 through that roundabout. So just past the roundabout, it's 55. So we knew that had to be changed. And plus the development, there's more development coming in, particularly in the Enclave area. So we're recommending some changes there as well. There it is. And so it's still 35 as you're coming through from Hightower through 400. And when you get past the roundabout, it goes up to 45, and then back to the 55 in the magenta color. And that is the recommendation on 53. And the last one I have, I think I've mentioned this one before, it's actually a school zone. It's Dawson Forest West at Riverview Elementary. That blue is an existing school zone, and it extends from the double roundabout just before you get to the entrance into the elementary school. So the recommendation is to extend that school zone all the way to the Enclave and post it at 30 miles an hour in the school zone. So that's the speed zones we're recommending for approval. There's a resolution that is in front of you. And if the board chooses, then once we approve the resolution, we'll make a formal submittal to the state for them to approve it. Any questions?
Questions for Robert? Okay, we'll move on to the next one. You have it as well. Presentation of a memorandum of understanding between Dawson County and Etowah Water and Sewer Authority concerning road and culvert improvements on Etowah River Road.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. This is actually a two-part project, and it's a two-part agreement with Etowah Water and Sewer. as a part of the reservoir project, they have to replace the double barrel 66-inch corrugated metal pipe underneath Etowah River Road. And they want to put in a bottomless culvert, a little bit larger in the diameter, but they want to put in a bottomless culvert because that's pretty much what the feds are requiring them to do. But it is underneath Etowah River Road at the Russell Creek. It is a county culvert, and the Georgia DOT has assessed that culvert and advised that it is in poor condition. So there's coming a day anyway, it's got to be replaced. Concurrently, part 2 of this project is the Etowah River Road is a T-Splosh project. So we were planning on doing an FDR and adding 2 foot of paved shoulders. It's programmed right now in 2027. So both these projects are coming together. So we felt like it was best to have an MOA with Etowah Water and Sewer. They're going to replace the culvert, and there's a cost to that, of course, but they also includes replacing 1,380 feet of roadway and actually making it safer. They're going to change some of the grades in there, put some guardrail in there. Culvert's going to be a little wider. We'll have a shoulder in there, which we really don't have right now. So the MOA has 2 options. Option 1 is that Etowah Water and Sewer replace the culvert and 1,300 foot of roadway. The culvert work is already contracted by Etowah Water and Sewer. As a matter of fact, I think they posted their signs up. They plan on closing that road on March 16th through October this year, just to replace the culvert alone. Of course, the road work's got to be torn up as well. So, as a part of that, in option 1, they are going to get a quote for the replacement of the roadway. If the cost of replacing the road is reasonable and fair, the county, option A is the county reimburses Etowah Water and Sewer for that stretch of roadway since it's part of the T-Splosh projects anyway. If it's not reasonable, then the county can exercise option B. Basically is we contract out the road replacement once they get through with the culvert. So we will reject their road work and contract out the road replacements with T-Splosh funds. The county attorney has drawn up the agreement. I apologize it didn't make your packet. We do now have an agreement. Etowah Water and Sewer has reviewed it, and the county attorney has also made the changes as well. But it is available, and I'll make sure it's available for the board prior to the next meeting. So are there any questions, or is that clear as mud?
Questions for Robert? All right, we'll move on to number 4, which you have. Presentation of IFB 494-26 Longview Drive roadway and drainage improvements.
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman. Longview Drive, located off of War Hill Park Road, and the project is a road and drainage improvement. It's a T-Splosh project. The roadway improvement is essentially a deep patch and an overlay, but it's a little bit more unique in that we got 5 locations on that road that have just completely failed. We're calling them pits, as a matter of fact. There's a theory that when they built that development, they put everything in the roadway, covered it, and built a road. So we found they've been settling over the years. We've been apparently putting asphalt after asphalt in there to the point where we pretty much buried some of the curb and gutter under asphalt, or it's completely settled. So made the project a little bit more unique. The contract is going to be excavating those 5 pit locations, at least a maximum 10 feet deep, replace it with some structural fill, and then replace the curving. That's the drainage part of this project. Do the deep patch, and then overlay. And then Etowah Water and Sewer also wants to relocate their water lines. Their water lines are affected by those same sinking pits, so they want to go in there before we start and put the water line on the, if you can imagine, on the inside of the loop. It's a loop. So that's the project. We received 8 bids, and both staff and BM&K have reviewed the bids. And incidentally, the lowest bid was almost 6% below the engineering estimated cost. So we feel pretty good about the bids. And thank you, Kristen. And so staff respectfully request the board accept the bids that we've received and award contract to R&B Development, Inc. in the amount of $830,389 and a 5% county control contingency in the amount of $41,519.45. We have vetted R&B developers, and matter of fact, BM&K has worked with them in the past. Their references look good, so we're recommending approval of this contract, and it is, again, funded through T-Splosh. Any questions?
The areas where the sunken part is it consolidated to a particular area, or is it stretched throughout the whole?
It seems to be consolidated. We identified 5 locations, and they're identified on the plats or the plan, specific locations. So I don't expect to find any more.
Have we done, and I may use the wrong terminology, but there's something called ground penetrating radar to ensure if we do have backfill that's underneath that roadway, and then what we don't want to do is go do this project and then it fail again because we have a base that's not substantial to hold that thing up long term. So have we looked to see if there's any other backfill anywhere underneath that road?
We have done cores on the road,
Okay.
and they didn't go obviously as far as deep as they probably could have, but the balance of the road is in good shape.
Okay.
As far as base is concerned. And then we hope that structural fill, if it's more than 10 feet deep, that structural fill should bridge it.
Okay.
That is the anticipation.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions for Robert? Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
All right, you still have another one. Presentation of an amendment to contract 442-24 Transportation Special Purpose Local Option Sales Tax Program Management Services. Purchasing Manager Hannah Milford and Roberts. Was Hannah going to give you a break?
I'm
All
gonna
right.
give them a little bit of a break.
Go ahead.
So just spoke about BM&K. So this is about BM&K's contract. It was originally approved in October of 2024, and it had a not to exceed amount of $250,000. So 2025 was our first full year with this contract under our belt to kind of figure out what we were doing with it. And then at the end of the year, after we reviewed and reconciled everything with BM&K, we believe that the contract amount needs to be increased. The T-Splosh resolution does have a line that allocates funding for program management, engineering, and other fees involved in that. Over the lifetime of that program, that total is $3,009,000. So if you split that up annually, we're looking at $601,800 annually. So the annual amount, it also funds not just BM&K, it's also for all of our on-call engineering and design contracts that we use for T-Splosh projects as well. So in 2025, a total of $504,130 was expended from this category for BM&K and all of our on-call engineering contracts as well. So we anticipate an increase in this category for 2026. Projects are moving forward and we're working on the list and some more are coming up. So our recommendation is that the staff respectfully requests that the board approve an amendment to contract number 442-24 for T-Splosh Program Management Services, establishing a revised annual not to exceed amount of $350,000.
Questions for Hannah?
So original contract was at $250, and you're saying we spent more than that?
We spent $504 out of that total $600,000 that you can use annually, but that was BM&K and our on-call engineering combined. It wasn't just the BM&K total.
Okay, but
BM&K,
you're
we
calling out
spent-
BM&K. How much, we had $250 for BM&K. How much did we spend for BM&K?
BM&K, we spent over $250. I don't know the exact amount. I think it was around $300 is what we ended up spending with BM&K just by themselves.
Did we have a contingency in that contract to say? So how did we go over that without that coming back to the board?
There was not in BM&K's contract itself. I was reading through the contract trying to figure that out too. There was not an amount in their contract for them to keep up with. It just had their hourly rates for them to follow. So in the contract amendment, I would definitely have the $350,000 as not to exceed. And then there was also, just because it was our first year trying to figure this out, I think there was some confusion under what fell under this contract versus what didn't. So we've all gotten together and we feel good about it moving forward. Feel confident in that $350 amount.
And that actual amount will be put into the contract this time. So if it were to exceed that, or if it's getting close to exceed that, it would come back in front of the board
Exactly.
before it moved forward.
Yeah, and we're also starting to do a quarterly audit process with BM&K and all of our engineering contractors, just so that we can kind of
Stay
keep
online.
a really close
Okay.
eye on it. Yep.
So the original contract was $250,000, or not to exceed or somewhere around there. So is there any reason why we went above that? I mean, I know we had some very difficult roads and a lot of easement and acquisition. Does that play into why we possibly went over?
It does considerably. Longview is a good example. I didn't plan on doing any engineering on Longview. I was just going to go through and repair the road, but we had to call an engineer in. We just had to figure out how to resolve that project. So that's one example.
Well, in BMK, were they not more involved in Elliott than what we had originally planned?
And that's correct.
I mean,
Because
that's
I know
where
there was a lot
really
of back and
going, was
forth.
Elliott
Right.
was,
Yes, that's
but
correct.
that was really one of the biggest hiccups on the whole T-Splosh was Elliott, as far as the acquisition goes. I mean, so is there potential that we get back in the 250 range
That was my next question.
moving forward if we get into some consistency with some of these roads?
Yeah, that is the anticipation. We're still, like I said, I think we're in the peak of the graph, if you will. 250,000, and Hannah wasn't here at the time, but it was really arbitrary. And nobody really knew how much we were going to use them. We've got their project load since November 24 has been over 16 projects, and a lot of different phases in each one of those projects. So yes, I do think that once we get to a point where these bigger projects will be out to bid and under construction, yes, we should see that. Now, we're going to need some construction management to oversee some of these. Elliott Road's a good example. I have to have somebody out there. I got to make sure the contractor stays where he's supposed to be.
What about, I'm sorry to ask this, but what about, like, are we utilizing Chris?
Yes, we are. It's joint. It's jointly, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a great training opportunity for Chris as well.
Yeah. And then, I mean, I know that it's not completely his deal, but like, is Robbie being utilized anywhere in this, or is he staying more in the?
He's staying more on the private development side.
Okay.
Yeah. And also the assistant director.
That's what I was
mention
going to
that too.
ask.
Yeah, the goal is to have more project management out of the assistant director, capital projects.
Right. Okay.
Other questions for Robert or Hannah?
Projects we've done so far under T-Splosh that have come to fruition, what we had budgeted for them versus actuals. Are we trending even? Are we trending under? You knew I'd hit you with some.
Yeah, that's a tough question to answer because, like, for example, Longview, I didn't expect that one. And Elliott was an increase of that as well. Outside of that, I can't really tell you. I know the bids for Longview came in under estimated costs, and I think Nightfire and Dogwood are coming underneath what we estimated. It's just kind of hit and miss, and hopefully it'll all come out in the wash. But I haven't really analyzed.
Can you send us, and I'm sorry for putting you on the spot, but will you send us a spreadsheet that shows what we originally had budgeted for the projects and where we're at in completion on?
I will have to get finance to help me do that, but correct.
Thank you.
Other questions? Thank y'all.
Thanks.
Next up, we have presentation of proposed revisions to the county's purchasing policy ordinance. Purchasing Manager Hannah Milferman. Hannah?
Thank you. So bringing to you guys an updated for our purchasing policy. The last update we had was in 2021. There have been quite a few changes to Georgia state law since then, so we wanted to go ahead and make sure that all of those were addressed in our new policy. While we're doing that, we went ahead and looked at a few other things as well. So just quick run through of some things. I know you guys have read all through this. We updated signing authority and the sealed bid amounts. We made some processes and procedure changes. Gerard and Davis has been great reviewing this, working with them to look through that. So I'm very excited about it, and I think it's going to be really helpful moving forward. So our recommendation is that we respectfully recommend that the board approve the updated and revised purchasing policy as presented after a public hearing on March 19th.
Questions for Hannah?
Thank you for getting on that, making sure that we're compliant.
I think it'll allow us to get things done faster, that's for sure.
I think so too.
Any other questions? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank y'all.
Next up, we have presentation of proposed text amendments to the County Code of Ordinances, Chapter 6, Alcohol License, Chapter 30, Business License, Chapter 42, Street Naming and Numbering, Chapter 121, Land Use. Community Development Director Richard Osborne. Richard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is definitely a joint effort between county staff, citizens, a variety of folks. And so I've got some great people here with me. We've had a lot of good input from Angela Byers with code compliance, Catherine Massey, alcohol licensing, Richard Batten, our planning manager, Mallory Ray with business licensing. And what we're looking at is county code changes for Chapter 6, that's alcohol, 30 business licenses, 42 roads. And so Robert Drury and other public works folks have given me a lot of good input. Also, 42 is addressing. So within community development, that is GIS mapping. And so Joshua Tuttle does an excellent job with that. He's given me a lot of good input. 121 is land use. And that's not a huge amount this time. The biggest heavy lift was alcohol, and then also a lot of business license changes. But the biggest was alcohol. Input has been obtained from staff of various departments, citizens, and the Long Range Planning Committee. County Attorney's Office reviewed the draft, and as staff, we've made all the needed revisions based on their comments. Planning Commission held a public hearing on February 17, and Planning Commission unanimously voted to recommend approval. So what are we looking at for a public hearing on March 19 for y'all to have a potential vote? I'll go through the three or four main blocks, and at the end of a block, I'll ask if y'all have any questions. The first item is alcohol, Chapter 6, and just a few highlights. Confirming that each alcohol licensee must have a local agent residing in Dawson County or a touching adjoining county. Confirm that alcohol license applications shall be denied if the applicant has been convicted of a felony offense within 2 years preceding the date of application. Applicants shall be denied a license if convicted of an alcohol-related offense within the 12 months prior. An applicant for an alcohol license or a serving, pouring type permit shall be disqualified if the applicant has been convicted of 3 or more DUI within the previous 10 years. Confirm that required paperwork for a new license following the death of a licensee must be completed, submitted, and approved within 75 days of date of death. And I think in code, based on county attorney's input, we slightly revised that. So in your code draft, it notes not approved because sometimes there are dates, maybe legal advertising, or maybe a need to table something for a variety of reasons. So I think it's, submitted, a complete application submitted within this time frame, and then there may be extenuating circumstances. One big thing that from the outset from the Board of Commissioners that staff was tasked with is consider package stores. There are already several package stores within the unincorporated county and a couple within the city limits. And so right now, the requirement is there's a 1 mile distance separation from new package stores. That would increase from 1 to 2 miles in any direction. And then we would have a maximum number of package store licenses for a maximum of 8 within unincorporated county. There would be confirmed alcohol license required signage at each business. There would be a new section based on market demand on rooftop dining and bar service standards for restaurants. Confirm limited consumption outside premises in the entertainment overlay district. And just a reminder, that is only one property. That's not even the out parcels. That is just the one parcel of the outlet mall itself. And so within that entertainment overlay district, there was an idea for some more options, including new section on wine bars, potentially within the entertainment overlay district. Last couple of things in this section would be confirming catering license standards and confirming auditing and enforcement information. We don't want to have to do it, but if we have a worst case scenario, we want, as clear as possible, enforcement standards. Any questions or comments about alcohol?
Questions for Richard?
How many total retail package stores do we have now? I think did you say 6? in the county?
I believe 6. Is 6 correct, Catherine? Okay, 6. Yes, sir.
Other questions? All right, move on.
Next is business license. We're going to combine home office and home occupation to just be called home occupations. The vast majority of Georgia cities and counties just call them home occupations. It's somewhat confusing for both citizens and staff. And so really just combine it into one and confirm what those standards would be, clarify where needed, confirm the grounds for revoking a business license if there might be violations of the county code, state laws, different things. Confirm licensing for mobile food vendors, food trucks, kind of clarify that. And then a modernized rewrite of the standards for vape shops, and that's based on other Georgia counties. Any questions or comments about business licensing?
Questions from the board? All right, thank you.
I'll just handle the last two because 42 is very basic. It is kind of an upgrade on driveways, mailboxes, and clarifying about when we name new roads and confirm the street address. And then along with that, 121 land use would be confirming that in Dawson County, all the streams, creeks, rivers, lakes, ponds are important to the county, and the state has differentiations. There's some places it's 25, some places it's 50 feet, but with the exception of Lake Lanier, really keeping this 50-foot undisturbed buffer from each side, each edge of rested vegetation, each bank is very important. Lake Lanier has some very small properties, we understand, many of which are already fully developed. And sometimes it's a good thing to have a redo. Somebody has a 50-year-old manufactured home and the property changes hands or it switches to the younger generation and maybe they want to tear that down and build a new house on that property. Very positive project for the county. And so considering that they're very small properties, mostly less than an acre, and Lake Lanier is slightly different from anything else in the county, that undisturbed buffer area would be 25. But again, just for Lake Lanier. We confirm limits to building setback reduction variances, and that just is to discourage them as much as possible. If the board sets certain standards, I understand that's the expectation that unless there truly is a hardship, those setbacks need to remain and be set. We had some questions about data centers and solar farms and this idea that for transparency and have the public involved and the Board of Commissioners involved, not allow those by right, but have those as a possibility. But regardless, they would need a zoning case. They'd be limited to just certain zoning districts. And then without a doubt, they would need a zoning case, special use. Even if somebody finds property zoned industrial, CIR, if they want to do a data center, they'd still need to come before the board. Any questions about any of that?
Questions on those two chapters for Richard? Thank you, sir.
Hey, I do want to say a big thank you to your department. One, for doing all of this. I know it's a lot of work, but also I know that you and a lot of your staff have had some extra on-call hours lately on the weekend and afternoons and stuff like that due to some unforeseen circumstances. So I just really appreciate you guys doing what you have to do to make sure things are done correctly. Thank you.
Okay, next up, we have presentation of request to reallocate a portion of Station 3 fire truck funding. Chief Financial Officer Natalie Johnson and County Manager Joey Leverett. Natalie, you gonna do it?
I'm going to give it a try.
All right, go for
Good
it.
evening, everybody. I'm just going to kind of read this off so I don't leave anything out important. But the purchase of the Station 3 fire engine was approved in 2024 and funded entirely with SPLOST $7 because at that time, sufficient fire impact fee funds were not available. Since then, impact fee collections have increased and are now sufficient to fund the portion of the fire engine attributable to growth, as identified in the county's capital improvement element. Impact fees are specifically intended to fund capital infrastructure needed to serve new development. So our request is to seek the board approval to reallocate the eligible portion of the Station 3 fire engine cost of $250,000 from SPLOST 7 to impact fee funds. And that would ensure the appropriate funding source is used and preserve SPLOST funds for other voter-approved capital projects.
Questions for Ms. Natalie?
Can you repeat that?
Sure.
Tell her she can read it. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Next up, we have presentation of an agreement for the allocation of hotel motel taxes with the Dawson County Convention and Visitor Bureau Division of the Chamber of Commerce and related budget amendment. County Attorney, Ms. Davis. Ms. Davis.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, as you know, this has kind of tumbled downhill quickly, but I think last week it was expressed that there was an interest in changing the percentage of contribution to the Chamber of Commerce, who acts as our, what's known as the direct marketing organization under the law, with respect to our collection of hotel motel taxes. And so once that was identified as an interest, became apparent that we will need a budget amendment to accommodate that, but then also realized that there's never been an agreement in place with the chamber in order to handle the allocation of these funds. So we've prepared an agreement. I apologize because it was just sent out by Karen Bertuda in my office this afternoon. So you have it in front of you, and if you read it and your eyes glaze over, that's normal because this is very complicated. And I may need to bring her in here to explain it to everybody when it comes time. But what you've got before you is a contract that would be with the chamber that would identify what our obligations are in terms of remitting these funds based upon our hotel motel tax collections. But then it has a lot of detail that's really required by the law that identifies what percentage of those allocations can be spent on what. And the state law is very complex and is very specific. There's requirements for certain percentages of it going to tourism, conventions, and trade shows, which is referred to as TCT. And then another percentage of every dollar collected has to go to tourism product development, which they call TPD. And all of this is done through a DMO. So there's some complexity in it, but the intention of that complexity, I think, is well founded because the idea is we're collecting these taxes from people. And so if we're going to give them away for a purpose, then we have to have a tight control of how those would be used. And it's important to have all that in an agreement. There's a requirement under state law that there be a budget provided from the chamber as to how they will spend the monies each year. And then there's various other requirements in state law as to annual reporting and auditing. And all of that is covered here in the agreement. You'll see some blanks that we'll need to work through with the chamber and you as in terms of, term of the agreement. Do you want to have it just annually or, more? And then deadlines for like when you want to see the budget plan and things like that. But what it has at its core is going from what has been a 6% allocation to the chamber, moving that to a 7%. And we collect at an 8% statutory rate. And so depending on what rate you collect at, there's different rules. And so if you talk to somebody in another county and they say, oh, we can spend our money on this, well, it's very different based upon what level you collect at. The higher levels have a little bit more flexibility, which seems odd, but that's just the way it goes. All of this is monitored and controlled through the Department of Community Affairs. And ultimately, if something's not done correctly, then DCA can recommend to the Department of Revenue that our right to collect the tax can be stopped, eliminated, rescinded. And I've sadly had a few complaints and such that have gone to the DCA. There's a review board that hears these things. So they do somewhat take it seriously. So we want to make sure that we get in compliance in terms of how we have it documented. But then the core decision will be for you to decide, are you comfortable going 6% to 7%? Even at 6%, it's more than we have to give our DMO. So in whatever is not given, there's a percentage that we're entitled to put in our general fund for general purposes. So all of that was detailed to some extent in an email from Karen this afternoon, and then you've got a draft agreement. And if the general concept is good with the board today, then I think what we had spoken about with Mr. Leverett and some of you in email exchanges leading up to today is that then we'll reach out to the chamber. But we wanted to have this first moment, touch point with you to say, yes, we're going to move to that percentage, and yes, we're good with the contract, and then we'll move forward to start negotiating that with them. And I'm sure this is going to be a little bit mind numbing I mean, this is a lot if they haven't been doing this before to get their arms around. So we would start that negotiation process. And I think Mr. Leverett indicated that maybe bringing it back, not next meeting, but perhaps first meeting in April with an April 1 effective date, which would be second quarter, might make sense. But I need your direction on that too, as to when you want it to move forward and when you'd want it to be effective. And Joe, if you have something to add, don't let me speak for you.
I think, I mean, just me personally, I'm fine with that moving to 7%. And, I'm fine with April. And then you working with the chamber and doing the things we need to do.
Okay. And is there a preference if it's an April 1st effective date? I mean, if we move quickly with the chamber, I'm just trying to recognize that this is going to be a lot for them to take in. But if we can get it on the next agenda, we'll do that. But we could also do it at our first meeting in April with a retro date to April 1. So is either of those okay with you, just depending on how we progress with the Chamber of Commerce?
I think it makes the most sense to make it effective on April 1, no matter which meeting it's on,
Okay. Okay.
personally.
Okay.
Okay, we'll move forward then with that direction. And, perhaps, I don't know, would it be best, Kristen, to say that it's on the next meeting and then we decide if we need to postpone it? I think that would be fine.
That'd be
Do
fine.
you want it back on a work session or on the voting?
Unless you guys want to see it again on a work session, I think we could move it to voting. And in the meantime, if you have questions, reach out to me. You're going to read this and think it doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's very statutorily driven. And so they're just these percentage rules, and it's just governed by that. Once you pick your percent, so if we decide we're giving them 7%, then we just, do that math. So, but if you have any questions, let me know. And I think otherwise, if you're interested in moving it forward pretty quickly, we could put on the voting session, pending, of course, that the chamber can get comfortable in that short couple of weeks. And if not, we can do it 1st of April, but either way.
Ready to read?
We already operate like that. We've been submitting reports, so.
Okay, to the state, right. I didn't know we had a chamber. I'm so sorry. I didn't realize you were here. Thank you for being here. So we'll coordinate, and then if we're ready to move next meeting, April 1 effective date, it sounds like, according to Commissioner Bruce, would be desirable either way. So I think we have our marching orders. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, county manager report, Joy.
Thank you, sir. I have nothing to report tonight.
All right, county attorney report, Ms. Davis.
I have no public report, but we do have, I think, a need for an executive session with respect to litigation.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session for litigation.
Make a motion to go into executive session to discuss potential litigation.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Stowers, seconded by Commissioner Bruce. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. It's dead. Just by show of hands. All right, so that's 4-0. We'll take about, about 2 minutes, and then we'll meet in the back for executive session. We'll be back at 6 o'clock. Thank you for your attendance.